Next day, again, mini beep, not my mini, hashtag not my mini. So I've filled the cooling system up. Actually, I've put back in most of what I took out of it. There's a little bit more that could go in, I think, but what I need to do now is run it, bleed it in, and see if this heater works, and see if that thermostat thing down there works, and see if the gauges work. All this stuff I put in 2 years ago, I never actually found out if it worked or not. So this is a moment of truth. This is, yeah. I just start it now and run it and see what happens. Come on. Anticlimactic. There's no need for that. Right. Not happy. It would appear I've got some sort of misfire. Might need more coolant. Yeah, so that's not going entirely well. It overheated. Well, I say overheated. It didn't overheat because it's got waterless in it. But, well, no, it did overheat because it got too hot. It's not bleeding through. It's not coming out the drain. I'm not quite sure why that is. I've got a bottle. You can see how hot that bottle got. So this will be a test of the waterless coolant. It's still at 104 now, the engine. I'm putting so much in it, and I keep looking underneath it going, is it coming back out? I've even raised the front. Oh, it is coming back out. I've just seen it. Yeah, I took the mic off and threw it. I'm used to a different kind of green blood coming out the front of cars. Yeah, we're beyond jokes now, to be honest. I'm that close. It's a load of coolant pipes that are leaking that were completely tight and pressure tested when I was racing to get this thing done about, or whenever it was, 18 months, 2 years ago, something like that. I made those pipes, I welded them in. I was very nervous about them leaking and whatnot, so I pressure tested the cooling system. I've filled it with fluid, and then I got the pressure tester, which is somewhere down there, little cock pump. And yeah, I think I pressurized it really high and left it for a while, and there were no problems. But of course, as soon as you start the car, couldn't pressure test it with water first, because if you pressure test it with water first, you would then have to clear all the water out of the system to put the waterless back in. The waterless is a pain in the arse. It's good stuff, don't get me wrong, and I think in many, well, there's a Griffith there. That came in yesterday. If that was running on water, that would be dead, because it reached about 120 on the way here. I don't mean miles an hour. And yeah, well, it might have done, isn't it? But yeah, if it had water in, that engine would be toast. The fact that it didn't, the fact that it had waterless in it, has saved it. I don't know what the actual problem is. There'll be a problem, will be something else, be a knackered water pump or something like that. But so in many ways, the waterless is great stuff, but it is a pain in the arse to work with, an absolute faff. It goes everywhere. It's clammy and sticky and greasy, and it leaked inside the car, so the car's full of it now, which means there's no point trying to stick carpet in this thing for a good long while, because it ain't going to stick. It's all over the floor. I'm going to push the car back out in a minute, but I'm honestly just despondent, like properly. You do reach these points with cars sometimes where you think, you know what, I've had enough. I've had my fill of that. And I love this car, but right now I'm thinking, like, what? You know, I'd rather be working on the SM, if I'm honest. And I'm racing to get this thing done for a deadline, and I'm struggling to find time to get it done. And the last time I was working on it, I was racing to get it done for a deadline, which was a YouTuber who wanted to, not Ian, because this isn't very hub nut, Ian says, which is probably fair. No, there's another YouTuber, and I was absolutely busting my ass to try and get this thing ready, and then all these problems I have now, I would have had then. So I'd never have had it done, but I thought I was going to have it done, and then the wiring I discovered was, you know, there were issues, and I felt so low at that point, so bummed out, and I had to message and let them down, and I was, you know, I made more of it in my head than I really should have, because at the end of the day, it's just a car. Okay, someone had bought tickets or whatever to come and get here, and you know, but you know, you have purchase protection on your tickets, don't you? So if you have to cancel them, it's only a couple of quid. If you don't, more for you. But yeah, you put it on there, and if you need to refund it, you can. Yeah, and I'm just getting those vibes again. It's that deadline thing. It's working to deadlines with cars. Just sucks the life out of it for me. Cannot do deadlines, and I've got this stupid track day, which I'm not even that bothered about doing now because of all the stress that's gone into it. I'm more bothered about losing the money I mean, it was only 120 quid. It was a really cheap track day, but I'm more bothered about losing 120 quid out of principle, you know. So yeah, this is well, I'm going to push this thing out anyway and see what puddle there is on the floor. Well, that's about 50 quid's worth. Yeah. I'm going to cling on to the vain hope that my modifications have worked. There's a couple of coolant hoses where it passes through from the body to the subframe. The Jubilee clip, I done them both up as tight as I could go, and then I started to think, hang on, is that one of them is one of them stuck? Is it gone tight before it's actually pinching? Is it just that it's bound up? Can't get them out because of the unique way that I've designed this. Changing those Jubilee clips is an absolute ball ache. It's probably the hardest job on the car now, which is a bit of an oversight. So what I've done is I've undone the Jubilee clip and poured some 3-in-1 oil down it, done it back up. It seems to have gone further round, I think. I had those pipes that I cut, and I didn't film that, did I? But there were some pipes that I had to cut and then rebuild, and they weren't perfectly round, I did flare the ends, but that doesn't seem to have done it. So I've reset the Jubilee clip, oiled it. I found out that it looked like it was peeing out the one on the left hand side, so I've done that. Well, I've done both of them, and put some big fat cable ties on as well as those, and absolutely hoofed on them. Done them up with a pair of pliers. So yeah, like that, and then bend it back one more time, sort of thing. It seems at the moment to have stopped, but I am not going to count my chickens because I haven't got any. But if I did have some, I would count them, because the waterless coolant doesn't pressurise. Well, it does pressurise. That's what I mean. That's the problem. It does pressurise. It doesn't pressurise anything like as much as water does. Or has to be pressurised, I should say, because you know, I'll do a waterless coolant video one day, but you have to pressurise coolant systems to raise the boiling point, because you can't have them boiling at 100, because at normal operating temperature they'd be near boiling point. So you have to pressurise the system, and that bumps the boiling point of water up to about 100 and, well, think it's almost relative to how many psi it's pressurised by. So I think if you've got a system pressurised to 15 psi, it normally goes to about 115 degrees C. It's not that exact, but it's kind of those numbers. With the stuff that's in this, it does pressurise a bit, but it's more like I'm doing a Coke bottle. So it's not one that you've shaken up, just a new one. So yeah, that's irritating. It may well be that what I've done isn't enough and it will start leaking again. And of course, once it starts leaking, you can't stop it. So, so it's not ideal. Not ideal at all. But the floor is cleaning. Well, it's not. It's just got some rag on it. That's out in the sun. I'm going to have a sandwich. Right, I've retrieved my microphone. And it's now on charge. I've had my sandwich. It runs and it behaves. The cooling system works at last. It actually works quite well. The fans are very effective. The 2 gauges show the difference between the front and rear temperature. The heater works, although I would say it's not. It does go a bit cool. I think I've drilled too many holes in that thermostat because it cools down a bit. But in the winter it'll be enough just to keep the mist off the screen, which, to be honest, that's the name of the game really. With the heater on this, it's just to stop the windscreen misting up, because it used to mist up in the winter. Otherwise, it's not heat, because it will be hot in there, even with all the clagging and stuff I'll put over the pipes. No more leaks at the moment. We'll see if that lasts. I'm not totally sure. But I'm going to be positive and carry on, because I'm an idiot. And that means I need to make it legal again. And that means it needs seats and seat belts. So I'll put the roll bar back in temporarily, because that's not an arsehole to get in. And then I'm going to mark on here where the seat belt's going to go, because you'll notice in the back there are 2 browny, beigey, goldy seat belts. Well, there's going to be 4 of them. There's going to be 2 more in the front. And they're 3-point. They're not inertia reel, but they're 3-point, and the upper part of it will fix to the cage, or to the roll bar. The lower part of it will go down here, and the buckle will go on the other side. So yeah, I need to put some tape on here, sit in the car and work out roughly where I need to drill the hole, because I have got some of these. These are threaded bosses, which are seatbelt threads. It looks a bit rough, but that will clean up. That's just from where it's kept in storage. So I'll either drill a hole in the cage and insert that and weld it. And I might do that, but I might also web it across there and mount it in that. I don't know, we'll see. You're now in the boot of the C6. So what I need, oh dear, distress. It's going to be around there somewhere, maybe. Let's be generous, it could be anywhere, couldn't it? Oh, this isn't bolted in, so if I lean backwards, I'm going to fall. And I'm not doing that. Right. So, about, I don't want it across my neck. I am kind of building it for me, because if you get in and you're really tall, it's going to be coming up and over, which is not ideal, but it's going to be about here, in that kind of, in that web kind of area. I'll go and get one of the belts and just make sure it will sit there okay. Alright, so there's my seat belt. So yeah, it's an odd looking thing because it hasn't got an inertia reel, but that bit there will go at the top, and that bit there will screw to a boss down here that I've put in but didn't thread. Well, that's weird. Why have I done that? So that's a nut and bolt job, that one. That's fine. So that will go down there, and that will go up there somewhere. Let's get a nut and bolt for this now, actually. In fact, I wonder if one came in the kit. Oh look, it did. I swear I put a captive nut on this. Oh, I did on that side. I put captive nuts on those ones, but not on these ones. Almost like I was doing it in a hurry. So then that will go up there somewhere. Oh, it's going to get dirty. Oh. Runners would help. See, that does look quite far forward, I admit, but the way you sit in these seats, if it's any further back, it just goes across your gut. Which, aside from being uncomfortable, would probably be fatal if you had a crash. Clunk click. It's not long enough. That's what she said. Maybe just above where I got my mark, I think. Yeah, just above. That'll do. If you now come over to the C6, you'll see some pieces. I've just made these. And then the seatbelt boss. Oh. Well, it will go inside if I could push it square with one hand. There you go. So that will go in there like that. So that's all you'll see on the cabin side, but on the back it'll all be dramatic and welded. And then that will go in there like that, and then I'll be safe ish. Maybe a bit lower actually, I might put it there. Yeah, that's how it'll go. And then there'll be one on the other side as well, which won't be drilled through, just to give it a bit more strength and to hide the threaded bit, because obviously that will be visible from there. So I shall go and weld these to these, get the other one and weld it into that. And then, do you know, earlier on I was almost tempted to do it in the car because it was such a faff to put that cage in, but that's just going to ruin something, isn't it? I'll take the cage back out and do it on the floor and give it a lick of paint. Very tempted not to though. There we go. 2 brackets. The lights are going nuts. You may be wondering, why am I mounting my seatbelt to an anti-roll bar? No, not an anti-roll bar. What's that? A roll bar. Originally, I mean, obviously you can't go up here because that pillar is so thin. Originally the Imp did have 3-point static belts, so this is going to be the same type of belts that the car had when new. But there's a fixing hole here, down behind this seat. That's where one of the points was. So it went all the way from there over your shoulder, which I didn't really think was ideal. Plus, I want to have rear seat belts as well, and that's just going to get in the way. Well, I've done my rear seat belts, they're there. But by having it up here, it's closer to sort of shoulder height where you would ideally want it. If the other problem you've got is if it's down low like that, then you've got the situation. I can't show you it because I only have one hand, but where, like, if that's your back there and the belt's coming up and over your shoulder, if it goes down low that way, when you have a crash, you just move inside the belt. It doesn't actually pin you back. So originally this car had harnesses in it when I first started driving it. They're such a pain. And it is a road car. I'm well aware I'm taking it to Goodwood, hopefully. But it is, at the end of it, it's a road car. So yeah, I think a 3-point belt is fine. I don't really go that fast in it, if I'm honest. But it's got the extra roll bar. That's going to be safer than the original setup. And yeah, I think that'll be okay. I'll wait for those brackets to cool down. I'll take this anti-roll bar out again. Anti-roll bar? Why do I keep calling it anti-roll bar? I'll take this roll bar out again, and then clean some paint off it, and weld those brackets on, and then put some paint back on it again. There we go, brackets on. You're struggling to see because dark, but yeah, it looks like I've done them at the wrong angle, but I haven't. It just looks like that. So I'm going to just give these a quick kiss with the angle grinder, just to take the sharp edges off. A bit of a rub down, and then probably some form of paint just to make them black, but it ain't gonna look amazing because like everything else on this job, I'm rushing it. 8:30. I'm done. I'm going home. It's just been the most stressful day again. I've got seatbelt mounts now. See? Even been here so long, the paint's dried, so I managed to fit the roll bar. Oh god, so I'm not going to get carpets in before Goodwood or any sound deadening. There'll be grommets missing. The wiring should be tidy and functional. I hope I've sorted the coolant leak, but I'm not entirely convinced I have. I've still got to do the suspension at the back. Got to fit the spacer on the offside. I was going to corner weight it. I need to raise the front suspension. I need to bleed the brakes in. I need to reconnect the handbrake cable. I need to set the handbrake tension. Throttle linkage still isn't quite right. It's hanging when you rev it. And then I've got to try and decide how much of the pipe work in here I try and cover up, because there's no carpet. I was going to make covers for the pipes and there's no covers, so the heat is going to be horrendous. Oh dear. Bloody hell. I'm absolutely smashed, and the best bit is I've got to come back in tomorrow and carry on. But tomorrow I'm going to put it on the 4-post ramp, and do the suspension and brakes and handbrake and everything that he's doing up on the ramp. The seatbelt mounts are in place, so I can fit the seats. I could fit the seats now. In fact, I could fit the seats, tighten the steering column up, bleed the brakes, shim the suspension, set the height, blah blah blah. Apart from 1 or 2 switches, I could drive it, because it's 40 years old, so it's MOT exempt and everything like that. I normally do still get it MOT'd anyway, and I will probably still get it MOT'd as a second set of eyes, but my MOT tester's leaving his garage, so I'll wait until he sets up somewhere else and then I'll take it to him and get him to do it. I could take it somewhere else, I suppose, but then you've got the whole, they don't know the car and everything, so I'm absolutely shattered. I'm not going to be here all day on Sunday tomorrow because it's the French Grand Prix and I don't want to miss that, although it's a rubbish track, so yeah, that's about it. No energy to be jumping around or anything at the moment. Oh, and I've got to do that cover, because it'd be very loud and smelly in there without that. That's probably going to be one of those jobs that shouldn't take too long, but it does. I did also put these in that they're not bolted in, so they're probably just going to rattle like hell. But I put these trims in, I drilled the holes, and I haven't got the rear fixing in, but I've got the front screw and the 2 pegs. I put those in because I knew I was putting the roll bar back in. It didn't come with these originally. These are from a higher spec model, but I just wanted to, well, I liked them. I thought it was quite cool. So eventually that'll probably be carpet. Well, there's a bit of me that actually thinks it looks quite good in wood. I'm like, should I just varnish it? No. Yeah, that'll be carpeted eventually, to match the boot. The boot carpet will be the same type. Probably carpeted around here as well, around the edge of this, and the wheel arch. And probably do the same with the front door cards. I did buy some original door cards, but I think I'll probably I've got the trims for the front, so I'll take those handles off, put these trims on. I've got some storage bins to go on from a higher spec model, and I've got the wooden cards. I'll probably just trim them in carpet, to be honest. I'm done caring about whether I've got wood in the car or not now. They're already made, they fit. If it's going to burn, it's going to burn. So yeah, there we go. Right, I'm going to go home. I'm done.